Hi everyone, in this video I would like to talk about some international SEO tips. Furthermore, why it's important to have an international SEO strategy, and if I have focused mainly on just for the Spanish-speaking countries, in the case of my website, I probably only have focus on the Latin American region and the Spain region or the Hispanic regions, and that will have left out several of international traffic that I could have. Here you can see my analytics, how I have been receiving international traffic for mainly when I was starting, and probably many bloggers or website owners as they start having or creating traffic is one of the main challenges to have. So that is why it's for me it's important, and of course of the purpose of your website. And in case for my website that I'm focusing more on affiliate marketing, having also international visitors have helped to gain that international visibility. And as you can see, I have visited from plenty countries around the world. Here we're showing only the first 10, but here there are multiple visitors worldwide. These are the numbers for the last 7 days. But of course, if I go and move the numbers, we can also have the growing numbers or how they represent the number of visitors. So that's an important factor or a tip that why it's important to use international SEO traffic is because you can also gain international traffic. These are the numbers of the analytics, but as well here on my search console, we can see that also for the last 3 months, I'm having thousands of impressions and thousands of clicks thanks to having my content in multiple languages and also aiming for different countries and languages. So starting up, one of the first tips to be used on this international SEO is deciding on the structure of your domain. One of the tips that it's given, especially here from us, it's when deciding about using subdomains of subfolders. There are some types of websites that prefer to use in a separate subdomain the languages, for example, es.example.com for the Spanish or de.example.com for the German language. But as the main recommendation, and here I would rate it as yes, we will still recommend subfolders over subdomains in case for the international SEO. So this is one of the main tips before starting the website. If you already have started, then before moving to the translation of your website, then deciding to use a subfolder, it's one of the most recommended. Of course, if you have the resources, if you have the team, probably the best strategy is to use the country code domains, for example, and one of the most common is Amazon. Since Amazon has Amazon website for the US, they have also Amazon for Mexico, for Germany, for UK, and for many other countries. But as you can see here, they have the strategy of the country code domain. So if there are the strategy and there is the team and the resources, this could be the best one. But in case for small business owners, for freelancers, for single owners, going for subfolders, it's one of the best decisions to be done when starting to do an international SEO strategy. This is one of the blog posts of my website that it has been mostly visited, and it has really helped for my website to gain international traffic thanks to first also using an SEO plugin. One of the most recommended is Rankmath. There is also Yoast, but now that in the recent years Rankmath is improving, it has helped also a lot with the SEO of a WordPress website. You can install for free in the plugin section. You can just search for Rankmath, install and activate it so that you can eventually do the configuration for the WordPress SEO. How it will help in the international SEO having a SEO plugin like Rankmath? Well, first of all, because it will help you to set down your meta title, the meta description, and afterwards you will have to use a plugin to translate your website. So that's another tip, that following up of having already set your WordPress website, having set an SEO plugin such as Rankmath or Yoast, then the next step is to use a multilingual plugin. Which ones are the ones that I recommend the most? There is WPML, there is Weglot, there is Conveythis, there is also Translatepress, and there are actually multiple multilingual plugins that can help you. I have already talked in other videos which one is the best one and for which cases it's recommended. In my website I use WPML because they don't have a limit on the content that you can translate, and that for me it's one of the main advantages to be used since I'm focused on content, on text content. WPML has different plans that they can be used for, and also if you're searching for a plugin that can translate automatically, now with the integration from WPML with DeepL, it has improved. So in that case, I would recommend to use better WPML rather than other plugin. But in case that you're aiming for a multilingual shop or e-commerce, then Weglot will be the best solution because it's fast and it's accurate. The use of this plugin is really simple. You can just install directly the plugin, and through an API key, you can do the connection so that the translation is done with Weglot. Since the connection is done via an API key, all the translations are saved and stored in the Weglot servers. And this also means that in case that some other plugin that is used for the WordPress website has to be deactivated, or there is an issue in the plugins, rarely Weglot will be the one interfering with the WordPress website. So that's the main advantage of using Weglot. But they do also help with the SEO. In what cases? For example, for WordPress, you can create the subfolders. In the case of WordPress, you can use the subfolders. You can translate the metadata and the URL slug. But for translating the URL slug, here you will need the advanced plan. So that's in comparison to WPML. WPML with their CMS plan, you can already do it. But in the case of Weglot, you will have to get the advanced plan. That's another tip that I give if you're also aiming for the international SEO, to have a good multilingual plugin. These two are one of the most that I recommend. Also Conveythis. This is a cheaper option and an alternative to Weglot. But in the case of translating the URL, they mainly only have the subdomain set up. So in case that you're also looking for a less expensive alternative to Weglot, then Conveythis could be a better option. So here I have some of the posts that are created on my WordPress websites. This is the case for WPML. In other videos I have shown how to install, how it works, WPML. And once we want to translate a version of the page, we will have set here the translation dashboard and the translation manager to be translating the whole content. Also, another international SEO tip is to do the localization of the keywords. So in case that probably in English some words might differ from the translation version, it could be not the same, you can also do the keyword localization for the specific term that you want to aim for in the international market. In the case of WPML, here we have the title, the meta title that you want to translate. Here we can also translate the description and the focus keyword. And in this way, you can also be translating the important content that it will be also read and helpful for the crawlers. Another specific thing that it's also helpful to have in in the translated content is the URL. So if I show you here, this is the translated version of the main content. Here we have the main keyword in the URL, and in the translated version I have the translated keyword. So that's another important factor. It's recommended, it's not just a must, it's to have it like that, but it's helpful even also for the user experience to see the content or the translated URL on the URL. Also, to show you that the description is translated, we can click in the see the code of the page, and in the back code of the website, in the case of WPML, it will automatically add the Hreflags, that in this case we will tell to the crawlers that there is another version of the page, but this is aiming, for example, for the English language, we have this page. For the Spanish, we have the next one, for the German, Italian, and so on. So in the case of the plugins such as WPML and Weglot, they take care of this automatically. You don't have to do anything. You just have to install one of that plugins. Also, we have here the English version of the title and the English version of the description. So in this case, we are telling crawlers this is the original language of this English version. We have the title and the meta description. For the Spanish version, we can also have here in the watch code, we will have the Hreflangs already set up. That's another important factor for international SEO. We have here the title in Spanish, and also we have the description in Spanish. So in this case, by having the multilingual content, we are also supporting our main content to be easily readable by crawlers and even by users when they search online in Google, in Bing, or in any other search engine, probably Yandex. In the case of the Russian language, they will appear according to what is set out on your WordPress website. And basically, just by having a multilingual plugin, automatically these features or these requirements are set without any more further hassle. And to end up, of course, any other international SEO strategy will require of international backlinks. To get backlinks, it's important to check out the domain rating, the domain authority, and the organic traffic that the web is getting, to know the quality of a website and even further to the quality of the backlink. PubliSuites is one of the main platforms that I'm using, but because this is mainly focused for the Spanish-speaking countries. They do also have websites from different countries. You can be filtering for the type of language, for the country that you might look in. You can check out here the DA or the DR of the websites, and you can actually be watching from where are you actually getting a backlink. So this is another international SEO tip, to get sponsored articles and get that backlink from an important website that can give that link use to your WordPress website. And this is another recommendation. For some other international website that I have found is Rocket Links. They also have several websites that they are where you can actually get some backlinks, and it's also recommended if you're aiming to gain international links. That it's also another important aspect of an international SEO strategy. So these are the tips that I give for international SEO. As you have seen, it is growing with time. For my website, it has had an impact on the international traffic that I'm getting. So it will depend on your type of website, on your industry, and what you are aiming. If you have some questions, some comments, and even for suggestions, I probably will be missing some things or aspects about the international SEO, so please write down in the comments. Thanks for watching.